Online learning to me it's learning that doesn't have a constraint of time or place.
If you take online learning and blend it with classroom instruction, really what online learning is accessing some information online and then having some sort of, for me anyway, some sort of stewardship by, the teacher over how it gets implemented.
So to us, online learning really looked like, how can we set these kids up to engage in academics in an independent way from their homes.
Online learning is such a huge factor in everyone's lives. It is what learning is today. And teachers have had to adjust their teaching style for online learning. I interviewed a variety of teachers and Dr. Linda Hirsch about what online learning is all about and how it has impacted and changed our lives forever. For many teachers, online learning is something completely new.
Online learning is something new for me. I didn't do too much before, other than I would post homework assignments on X2.
It wasn't completely foreign to me, but the week before we went live, they had 3 intensive training sessions to make sure that everybody had the rudiments down, and that was helpful. Obviously, I've used Padlet before, so I had more than a passing familiarity with that. I've used a lot of digital tools during the course of my working.
We've asked teachers to have, a section of what's their objective. If there's something for students to watch, whether the teacher has done a flipped video for their classroom or sending students to another video to watch, there's a section for that. There's a section for a lecture, if they have that they'd like to put in there. The assignments themselves, and then a place for the students to upload where they can get the actual feedback. So with online learning, the difference is that you obviously don't have that face-to-face, but everything is going through that platform, so it's housed in one place. That's very important, because if you start having people, using one platform and then someone else decides to use another one, it gets very confusing for students and for parents.
The teachers are using Google Classroom to communicate with the students how we'd like to do their work in our online learning. All of our curriculum areas actually have online, most of our curriculum areas have online components too, because most of our curriculum areas are updated.
4th grade, so they all had Google Classrooms anyways in their computer classes. We do a lot of Brain Pop videos, we do iReady, there's Think Central, for science there's FOSS.
So Google Classroom, that's kind of new to me now. Cami to put prior worksheets right on the screen, and then Loom to record my voice as I write on the sheets and record how to do the new math that we're learning, because we are moving forward in both math and science. It's not just review. The actual app I use for kids to do their work is called ClassKick.
So I've been using Flipgrid. I've been making little mini lessons of myself teaching a lesson on Flipgrid and having them watch it, and then having them, instead of constantly writing things down or using the computer to type or things like that, I've been having them making videos and send them back to me. So they enjoy that, especially in science.
As a foreign language teacher, we also have a variety of apps that we've always used, such as Quizlet, GimKit, Quizzes, Flipgrid, and a couple of other things. We can also actually play live games with those apps together when we have live classes in Google Meets. And it also gives students a variety of ways to showcase what they know. So I teach AP and I teach Spanish for honors. So I try to, for the AP students, I'm obviously focusing on the tasks that are going to be on the AP exam this year, but also not losing any of the other tasks. So in foreign language, we read, we speak, we write, we listen to things. So giving them something every day that's a little bit different, so it's not always the same kind of thing, and also not having the same formula from week to week, and also not making everything, especially for my AP class, not making everything so very hardcore AP. Sometimes it can be a fun and relaxing assignment, such as a show and tell.
And teachers are getting creative and trying not to use too many things that the children are unfamiliar with. But we actually have had a lot of access to things throughout the year, so we have a good library of things that we can be using. Well, I feel really fortunate at Parker and in Chelmsford overall. I feel like we have a very strong technology department. Mr. Bill Silva is absolutely amazing and has, really held our hand. And actually, I think without his guidance and support and his initiatives over the past couple of years, I don't think Chelmsford would have been able to handle this. I think he's been the driving force in getting us online and getting devices in students' hands and getting the best technology in our classrooms. So I think without him, we would be in a very different position. So
Bill Silva and the technology department had mobilized some of the carts that we're using and pulled them apart in order to provide students and teachers with the first part of technology that they needed. And then after those were passed out, the technology department did a survey of what they had available and some of the carts that would be exiting out anyway, and started to offer a second wave of computers. I do know that there's probably some glitches going on right now where we're trying to give students a variety of activities and assignments to do. There's that balance, right? So sometimes it might be too much, it might be too little. So some of the feedback is, do we have to do every single thing that's on there? What happens if we can't get it all done? Are we going to fail? It's like, no, that kind of stuff isn't going to happen. We won't let that happen to you. We'll support you all the way through it.
The overall feedback from the kids is that it's not the academics that are hard for them. That they understand. It's learning the technology at such a rapid pace without having someone there that can help them.
Some of the struggles that I've had, I've been using Google Class for years, so I was really, really familiar with the platform to start with. The struggles were just learning some of the new technologies such as Google Meets. My first Google Meet was disaster.
I'm trying to find workarounds for various things that Google Classroom won't let you do. I'm thankful for Google Classroom because I don't know what we'd be doing if we didn't have this kind of digital, remote access. But at the same time, when you're used to using other digital tools, the transition can be daunting. And not all of my students have access to cameras or microphones or things like that, things that I could supply if we were all together in class.
And I guess one of the most frustrating parts was, as a teacher, these websites look a certain way for the teacher, and when we try to describe to the students how to get to a certain worksheet, the website looks different for the students. So, and they'll be like, Mr. Marr, I don't see that. And so some kids, they could just give up and they're like, I'm not going to try this. I'm going to shut down schooling for a day or two. And so you have to be really careful and make sure that you know exactly what you're describing to students before they try it.
So we've had to alter class lengths down to about half an hour, give or take. And given that, and given the fact that we were out of school for a while before we started this, we also have to scale back our expectations about the breadth of coverage.
Some of them have expressed to me that they're feeling extremely overwhelmed because they can't time manage the same way that we time manage for them. We have a very scripted schedule in school, and we transition and we build in those transitions for them, whether they know we do or not, but we do. And they're not able to do that on their own yet.
Scheduling, this has been the most difficult thing. I had a student email me yesterday and say, can you give us more notice on when we're going to have meets? And the answer is yes, but I don't know that it would make any difference because I don't know what the other teachers are planning. We're not going through a regular rotation like we would be at school.
And one of the things that we had told everyone was, listen, a lot of the stuff may have to be a little asynchronous, right? We can't expect everybody to be online at the same time. When they're developing their different lessons, they're developing them in such a way that students can access it and parents can access it at a convenient time for them.
There's nothing that's going to replace the classroom, like being in the classroom.
So it's hard sometimes with the Google Meets. We've asked kids to mute their microphones so you can't necessarily hear some of the excitement that you would in a face-to-face classroom. But I think the familiarity is a comfort to students.
Most of our students are doing the work. The tough thing as a teacher is to figure out if they're not doing the work, why are they not doing the work, right? We can't, we have to take into consideration the emotional, social aspect that comes along with not being able to see them every day and to check in and to hold them accountable for learning on their own. So I think at the middle school level, we're very sensitive to that. And making sure, checking in on students if I notice that students haven't, been either logging on to the Google Hangouts or, completing an assignment that I've asked them to turn in. I always follow up either with a phone call or an email.
The elementary level, the challenge is definitely keeping them motivated and trying to keep them somewhat independent, because a lot of these kids are not in a situation where they have an adult that can be one-to-one with them for the 3.5 hours of expected learning a day.
And it's, unfortunately for science, it's much less hands-on. Right now we'd be looking at rocks and describing them with our partners and writing in our journal, and the students don't have these really cool different rocks that we'd be studying from the different layers of the Grand Canyon. They
probably have mixed emotions about it. I think that they miss school, whether they want to admit it or not. I think they miss actually coming to school. I know that I do. I think that they love when we get together online and have a Google Hangout, because they actually can see their friends and talk to their friends. I think they're really missing that social interaction.
They miss each other is the biggest feedback. Elementary, it's just such a classroom community, and it's the environment that they want to be in. And I think that that's the biggest motivating factor for them right now, is each other. So when you take that piece out of it, it's really hard, because all they want to do is just see each other. The Google Hangouts that we've been doing are adorable, because they just get so excited to see each other, and they all want to talk, and they learned how to use the chat feature, so that has like 150 by the end of it, and it's just hi, because they're so excited to see each other.
Some of the other struggles are that work questions come in literally 24/7. So knowing when to say enough, I need to close my Chromebook and I need to concentrate on my family, or I need to do something for myself.
Well, the benefits of online learning for students, and I think they're obviously the most important, the consumers of this online learning. It gives them flexibility in terms of time they access the materials, the pace at which they work.
To teach and learn when you can best think, when you feel most alert, and when it's obviously most convenient to you, and where everybody's kind of at home. It kind of gives you the opportunity to take a mental break for even 5 minutes to for me, for example, to go down to my kitchen to get a cup of coffee or something when I need to.
Being able to use these apps that I had no idea how to use before, but I'm sure I'm going to find places where like, oh, you know what? We don't have to do it that way. We don't have to do it on a worksheet, or you actually can do this from home now, because we have this app that I've discovered, because I was an internet dummy apparently before. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I've learned so much, so many new apps, and it was definitely a struggle, but I think in the end, just selfishly for me, it'll be worth it in the end, because I feel like I've learned some really cool apps.
Learning a ton of new stuff technology-wise. These kids are going to be so good in a couple years.
And even like for our high school students, when you go to college, you will be working on a platform similar to Google. You might have a hybrid class. You might have a completely online class. So, even just this experience alone is going to be huge when you transition into higher ed, or even if you go into a training program and you don't go to college. A lot of training programs, the same situation. I do know that, several years ago, our students were going off to college, and one of the things we were hearing is, I had no idea that I had to use Blackboard. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow, we really should, attend to that, because it shouldn't be something new for you. So there's going to be a lot of good things that come out of this. There's going to be some great collaboration. People just don't know it yet, right? I really am pretty optimistic.
This really shows the resiliency of students. Students have undertaken this challenge, which is not just as a matter of remote learning. It's a psychological toll, a psychological burden, knowing that we're under a pandemic, and the fact that students are still eager and that learning is helping them, alleviate some of that anxiety on a daily basis, I think it's touching to the heart, because it speaks to why most teachers, I think, get into teaching, because they know students are eager, curious to learn. And students have really responded well. So, I think that's one of the best things about this, is it shows if people thought that students still have resiliency, I think this proves that completely wrong.
I cannot believe how quickly people have been able to turn around with it. I mean, you would think that this would be something that would halt us in place, and it didn't. The teachers have risen to the occasion.
One of the biggest successes, I think, so far of this has just been the collaboration. I think that the school that I work at has done an excellent job of collaborating with each other, and everyone keeps trying to find the mentality of work smarter, not harder, and that's true for staff, it's true for parents, it's true for the kids, and I know that I've collaborated more with my fourth grade team since this has happened than we probably have all year.
There's a lot of students who will claim they don't like school and I don't want to go to school ever, but when we have these Google Meets, kids are showing up and you can see they're so hungry for interaction with people. They miss their students. They might even miss their teacher a little bit. I don't know. They seem really excited, when I come on the screen, and it's great. I'm excited to see them too, because I miss them as well.
You forget how much you crave that physical affection, right? Or just the absence of being able to be next to somebody or to see my students, right? When I first saw them online after a couple of weeks on a Google Hangout, like, you get teary-eyed and just want to be with them. You do want to. In fifth grade, I'm constantly patting them on the back and giving them high fives and fist bumps, and I just want to do that, and you just can't, which is really tough.
Being separated from students was, that absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's the saying. The first student who appeared on the screen, it was like, oh, it's so good to see you, and I was excited to get back with the students again. So that has been, that's been, one of the most uplifting parts of this. It's helped us reconnect with the world and again, bring us close together as a community.
Teachers, parents, administration, stuff like that, it all gives us a common bonding experience. We're all doing the same thing. We're all suffering in the same ways. We're all growing in the same ways, and it kind of gives everyone a common standing ground.
It forced us to take a pause and to slow down. And when everything is canceled and you only have each other, it really makes you understand from a teacher's point of view that this is a health crisis, it's a world crisis, it's not an educational crisis. And it's the time to really pause and to think about what's important and what's just not, right? And that is forcing us to have family dinners together, and it's forcing us to play cards and to talk and to take walks in our neighborhood and to walk our dogs. So I think it's brought a lot of people together to figure out I love the vibe that's going on about what's essential and what's an essential worker right now too, right? It's not our athletes and our supermodels. It's the people that make our communities function every day. So
it's brought our community together in terms of not only for Chelmsford, but in terms of it being something that's affecting the entire world. I see that students understand that we're all in this together. Everyone's going through a similar struggle. Everyone is kind of locked down in their homes in Chelmsford, in Massachusetts, in New England, in the United States, and in the entire world. So one of the first assignments I gave to students was a song that was done in Spain that was about how Spain is dealing with the coronavirus. And most of the students mentioned in their reflection that we're all in this together, and it kind of gives me hope.
This experience has not only brought our community together, but also strengthened it. Online learning is so important, and there are many benefits, especially moving forward. We will never forget this time in our lives, but never forget that we are in this together, and the most important thing right now is our health and our family. Thank you so much, and this was Elizabeth Silva for 719 Community.